Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. Before we get started, a couple of things. You might note that I am standing on a yoga mat that my outfit actually matches quite well with, if I may say. You don't have to have a matching outfit, and you don't need to have a yoga mat. Just find a place in your house that's got maybe some carpeting, or you've got a rug that's not too slick or slippery or going to slip out from underneath you. That would be a great yoga mat. I've got 2 yoga blocks. A terrific substitute for those would be 2 thick books. And I encourage you to use what you've got. You can steal a cushion from your couch, or fold the throw blanket or a beach towel underneath your knees for some padding. Use the wall for balance. Make this personal, make it fun. Let's start in what's called child's pose, and that looks different, like all the rest of the poses do, on all of us. So child's pose in theory would be us sitting back, hips onto our heels. In reality, that may not feel great on a lot of our knees, this much bend. So walk yourself forward. That's where a book or a block can be a great addition. Arms forward is pretty great in terms of controlling how much pressure we put into our knees. You could have your toes curled under. You might put your forehead on your block. So make any of the adjustments that I'm suggesting, and know that they're not written in stone. Every day is a little bit different. And then let's turn the arrows of attention inward. That's the important part. That's really, in many ways, the yoga of it. So if it's too painful, if you're always fixing it, that's probably going to be more like distraction than it is inward turn. And then once we get comfortable enough, part of our inward turn, our inward focus, is to pay attention to our breathing. Notice your inhale. Notice your exhale. See if it might be possible today to breathe both in and out through your nose. If it's not possible, you're not doing anything wrong. Now bring yourself onto hands and knees, and if you have a prop of some sort assisting your child's pose, scoot that out of your way. And we'll work breaking down some sun salutations today, and we'll start from the ground up, literally. So here we are on the ground, and spread your hands wide. We're on all fours. Arrange so that your shoulders are over your wrists. So we're not too far forward with our hands. We're not so far back that our wrists are already starting to feel too much. We want to think that we're building some scaffolding currently on our hands and knees. And then let's take this hands and knees example into something that almost looks like a plank, because it is in fact a plank with our kickstand down. So curl your toes under and walk your hands about 5 inches further forward than they were on our hands and knees. But we still want to organize shoulders over wrists, so that's where the fun begins, is trying to figure out how we keep that placement, keep an oomph into our arms so that we're not sagging into our joints. And you can try that on for size so you know what you don't want to get into. That's the collapse. Instead, push the ground away, and you'll feel that your core starts to work while we're doing that too. Now, let's not just push the ground away. Let's begin to push the ground in front of us. So it's like we're pushing down into the ground, but we're pushing it away from us. And then imagine a hook in your tailbone with your toes curled under, and let this start to become a downward facing dog. So if you think hook in your tailbone pushing the ground down and away from you, then what we can focus on is that hip lift that's facilitating length in our back body, in our side body, in our front body. So as you do this, witness that in your own body. Back body, spine grows long. And that's a result of pushing your hands into the ground and away from you. Front body feels longer, side body feels longer. I'm on my tippy toes with my knees bent because that helps me find the hook in my tailbone more. You might do the same. You can be as wide as your mat with your feet, or hip distance, or anything in between. We'll walk our feet to our hands, all the way to the front edge of our mat where we're hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands to your shins, maybe up to your thighs even. Press, in fact, come up to your thighs so we can do this part together. Press into your hands, into your thighs, and grow your spine. So it's not that we're trying to get close to the ground. We're actually trying to understand how we make that spine long, like we just said in down dog. And then we'll hinge and fold back in. Now you might slide your hands down, but same thing here. We want to prioritize length through our torso. From your belly, inhale, rise, reach. Our thumbs reach to the sky and we V-shape our arms. And then rest your arms along your sides, palms facing out. And to refine this movement, take your arms in front of you, thumbs face the sky. Make 2 giant opposing circles. We'll do that one more time. So from our shoulder joint, palms face each other, we V-shape, let our arms float away from each other and then next to our sides, and that uplifts our heart, not our chin so much as our heart. There's a little soft bend in our knees so we don't feel locked into anything. Especially as we flow, we want to feel fluid. Inhale, V-shape your arms. Exhale, hinge at your hips, take your hands to your thighs. Maybe they slide to your shins or even your ankles. Slide your hands up and lengthen even more. And then bend your knees deeply. Let your palms go flat on the ground. Step back with that hook in your tailbone to the down dog that we created earlier. Push into the ground, but push the ground away from you and feel yourself grow tall, long through your spine. We'll shift into plank position with our shoulders over our wrists like we rehearsed on our hands and knees. And now bring your knees down so it's the plank that we found. Remember, we're not collapsed into our joints, we're pushing the ground away. And continue pushing the ground away even as you bend your elbows and you lower your body all the way to the ground. Once we're on the ground, uncurl your toes. Bring your forearms parallel to the long edges of your mat. So something called Sphinx pose. We feel a karate chop into our forearms and then drag those elbows towards you. They don't actually move, but your torso does ever so slightly through the gateway of your arms. Again, we get that smile to our collarbones. Activate your legs by pressing the tops of your feet down, letting your kneecaps lift. And then just check and see if you're trying to do too much with your chin. Natural, normal. Let your chin be parallel to the ground. So this goes into our shoulder blade area more than our neck. Lower down, and let's try to assume the same position but with our hands next to our ribs. And instead of floppy ears out to the side, let your elbows brush against your ribs or just be aerodynamic, pointing backwards. And now we will pull the ground towards us and feel a little bit of that Sphinx pose in what's called Cobra. Now we'll lower down, curl your toes under. Let's think all in one chunk, a little core strength as we come to all fours. And then find the hook in your tailbone like we did together previously and lift your hips up and back into down dog. Remember, we're pushing the ground down and away. Walk your feet forward to your hands, arrive hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up, inhale. Glide your hands down, exhale. We will inhale, rise, reach thumbs to the sky, V, and then we stand in our mountain. Remember, palms face out, little soft, fluid bend to our knees. Sun salutation, A. Inhale, arms V-shape overhead. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs, maybe shins or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale, lengthen your spine, and then bend your knees as deeply as you need to get your hands flat on the ground and step with the hook in your tailbone to down dog. Push the ground away from you and push into the ground. Then come into a plank position, angling shoulders over wrists. Keep pushing the ground away as you lower your knees down in that modified plank. Continue pushing the ground away, and we come all the way to our bellies. Once we do, uncurl your toes, bring yourself into a cobra pose. Lower down, curl your toes back under. It's one chunk as we come to all fours. And then lift your hips up and back into that inverted V of down dog. Walk your feet forward to your hands. We arrive hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up, inhale. Glide your hands down, exhale. We inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, V, and then we stand with our arms along our sides, palms facing out. Let's flow one more time. Inhale, V. Exhale, hinge, hands to your thighs or shins, or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale, and then bend your knees so your palms head flat to the ground. Push the ground away from you and down in our inverted V, down dog. Shift into plank. Shoulders come right over our wrists, and we keep pushing into the ground as we lower our knees down like a kickstand. Then all the way to our bellies. Elbows brush gently against our ribs. Uncurl your toes and come into your cobra pose. And then we lower down, curl your toes under. It's one chunk to all fours. And then our hips lift us up and back to our down dog. One more time, walk forward, feet to our hands. We're hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up as we inhale. And glide your hands down, keeping your spine long as we exhale. Inhale, rise, reach. Thumbs reach to the sky, and we stand in our mountain pose. And you might say we fully inhabit our mountain. Chair pose, we sit back and down. So as opposed to tucking our tailbone, imagine that there's a chair behind you. Your feet are hip distance and parallel. We V-shape our arms, and then we sit back into that imaginary chair. Instead of riding our shoulders up into our ears, let's allow there to be some space there. So we don't sit so far back that we're struggling. Sometimes that shoulders into our ears is an indication of going a little too far. Bring your hands to your thighs like we've done, and then glide them down as we fold, and it's a hinge more than a round. Glide your hands up, inhale, and then palms flat for our downward facing dog. Lift your right leg back behind you, and then swoop it forward, and for lots of us that means help it along. No shame in that. I like my 2 blocks on either side of my mat. You might do the same. And then they give me a little bit more structure as I heel toe my right foot over to the right. And let's lower our back knee, our left knee onto the ground. If that means padding, toss a towel or your throw blanket underneath there. And we'll take our arms to the sky, V-shaping like we've done in our arms overhead position. And then take your 2 hands on top of that right thigh. Press into your thigh so that it grows tall from the hinge at your hip, as opposed to feeling like we're trying to ride those shoulders back up. So with our hands on our thigh, it just makes it a little bit more specific. Take your hands onto your 2 blocks, and now lift that back knee off your mat. So left knee off your mat. Instead of swinging this right hip out to the right, imagine hugging that right hip as if it was almost interested in drifting over to the sleeping dog on your left. Maybe on my left. Now, let's add some bend to our back knee, much like we were doing when it was down on the ground, and climb our hands onto our thigh like we did. So we can upright our torso with a little bit of wherewithal, right? And then, I was going to say know-it-all, but wherewithal I think sounds better. We V-shape our arms to the sky. I'm keeping a bend in this back knee, but you might be able to straighten that back leg a little bit. If it's tipping you forward or dumping you into your low back, that nice soft bend in the back knee is a great idea. Take your hands back to your blocks, and then move your blocks so that your palms can go flat, and we step to down dog. That's our inverted V. You can always take the child's pose that we did together at the very beginning, or join me here as we come to plank position with our shoulders over our wrists and bring our knees down as our kickstand. Keep pushing the ground away and come to your belly all the way down. Uncurl your toes, activate the tops of your feet pressing as you come into your cobra pose. Lower down, curl your toes under, come through all fours in one chunk, and then let the hook in your tailbone bring you back to down dog. If you were in child's pose, you can join us here in down dog now. Lift your left leg behind you and use that velocity to step it through. Of course, also use your hands if it's helpful. You might trot your 2 books or blocks into the mix. And let's lower our right knee, our back knee down. Use padding if it's helpful. V-shape your arms for a moment overhead, and then take both hands onto your left thigh, and let's whittle a little extra space in that hip crease. So pressing down into our left leg, growing our torso tall. And then take your hands onto your 2 blocks, lift your back knee off your mat, We're back into our lunge, and we'll add bend to the right knee as if we were almost flirting with putting it back down on the ground. Climb our hands onto that left thigh like we just did with our back knee down. Grow tall in that hip hinge, and then V-shape our arms. I keep the bend in my back knee. You might join me if you want to straighten your back leg and that all feels good to you. Terrific. Bring your hands back to your blocks. Use that to make your way to down dog. And from downward facing dog, walk your feet forward to your hands. We're hip distance and parallel. Glide your hands up, inhale. Slide your hands down, exhale. Let's take our chair pose here. So sit back and down, V-shape your arms to the sky. If you imagine that your weight is heading more into your heels and less into your toes, that might help not load your knees too much, and then we'll step it up. Stand it up, pardon me, and float our arms along our sides into our mountain pose. We make our way into sun salutation B. We'll do it slowly together. Chair pose, inhale. Exhale, hands to your thighs, maybe your shins or your ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale, and then bend your knees deeply. Palms go flat. We step back to down dog. There's a hook in our tailbone. Shift it to plank position. Your shoulders are over your wrists. Keep pushing the ground away as we lower our knees and ultimately our belly all the way down onto the ground. Uncurl your toes, cobra pose. We'll lower down, curl our toes under in one chunk. We come to all fours and then to our down dog. Lift your right leg behind you. Step it forward, help it along. Scoot your blocks into the mix if it's helpful. Bend your back knee upright into a crescent pose, this is called. You can straighten the back leg if you want to. Bring your hands to your blocks and then ultimately to your mat for down dog. Stay here in down dog or come with me to plank position. Plant your knees as your kickstand. Come to your belly, all the way down, elbows brushing gently against our ribs. Uncurl your toes, activate your legs, cobra pose. Lower down, curl your toes under, come through all fours. Let your hips lift you up and back into your down dog. Lift your left leg, step it forward, help it along, trot your blocks in. Back knee can bend as we upright our torso, and it's a crescent pose. Then hands to our blocks on our way to our down dog. And we pause in down dog, or you join me in a plank position. We plant our knees down onto our mat. We push the ground away as we come all the way down onto our bellies. Uncurl your toes, cobra pose. Lower down through all fours and into our downward facing dog, our inverted V. Let's walk forward, feet to our hands, hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up, inhale. Glide your hands down, exhale. Sit back and down, V-shape your arms. It's chair pose, and then we stand it up, and our arms float along our sides. One more time through sun salutation B, and I'm going to give you a different option for the lunge that we do. But if you like the one we just did, stick with that one, no problem. It's a chair pose to get us started. Exhale, hands to thighs or shins or ankles. Inhale, slide your hands up, bend your knees deeply, palms flat, step to your inverted V, your down dog. Now feel free to stay here or shift it to plank, shoulders over wrists. You can skip this part if it's starting to feel like a lot of them. Bring your knees down and then your belly all the way to the floor. Uncurl your toes, activate your legs, cobra. Lower down enough that we can come through all fours and then into our downward facing dog. Lift your right leg, step that right foot forward, help it along, trot your books in, your blocks in, and maybe come upright or turn your back foot, your left foot flat, keep your front knee bent. Remember, we're not swinging that right hip out to the right if we can help it. Upright into any lunge. It can be on the ball of your back foot. You could even have your back knee down. Bring your hands to your blocks or books. Spin on your back toes if you brought that heel down. Move everything out of the way for down dog. stay in down dog, maybe even bring your knees down for child's pose, or we head to a plank position. Bring your knees to your mat and your belly down. Uncurl your toes, cobra. Lower down, all fours, and then inverted V, hips up and back for down dog. Lift your left leg behind you, step it forward, help it along, bring blocks into the mix or books into the mix. You can stay on the ball of that back foot, even lower the knee down, or turn your back foot flat. Keep this front knee bent, upright your torso, no matter what that lunge might be. And then we bring our hands to our blocks to help us along into our downward facing dog. And this time from our downward facing dog, lift your right leg behind you, step it forward and lower your back knee. And then take one of your books or blocks and set it off to your right side. So if we were to sit side saddle on our right hip, there'd be something to guide us with that, which is actually what we're going to do. So here we are, seated in our side saddle position. You can bend this right knee as much as you want to or need to, and curl your left toes, back toes under. Let this left hip roll forward, not forcing anything, but it rolls forward. I take my other book or block, I take it tall, so I've got something to put my hands on. And then you can stay upright or walk it forward. But one thing I want you to note, just for the practice that we've done today, in this single pigeon is what this is called, is this is a little bit like those of you who put your back heel down in the lunge that we did, in a way. It's a little suggestion of your left waist and hip forward. So you could kind of think of this as a little bit of a breakdown of Warrior One, possibly. I wouldn't be too heady about it, just enjoy where you are. Let's get a stretch. And I'm going to give you a stretch of silence too. So hands on your book or blocks, arms out in front of you. You're using this thing that you're sitting on, or you could lose that thing that you're sitting on. And now I do promise to be quiet. 1 minute here. Thirty more seconds. To come out of this, lean over to your right. You could even, if you lost it or maybe you still have it, use that block or book that you were using. And be careful, be patient, be gentle with this right knee. We'll come back into something that's a little bit like that lunge that we came into it from. Doesn't have to be graceful, don't worry. I don't think mine was just now. And then let's step to down dog. So make your way, use your books, your blocks, whatever it takes. Lift your left leg behind you, and then step it forward, and we'll lower our back knee. And I like to use something as a guide to sit that left hip on. Takes the onus off this left knee also. And it may stay quite like this, or you can try to curl those right toes, back toes under, and encourage the right side of your waist to move forward a little bit. None of this is forced. You could take your book or block, bring it out in front of you, especially if you're kind of interested in how this could be a little bit of a guide towards Warrior One. And stay here if you want. Come off of the book or block if you want. And then this is that promised 1 minute of silence and stretch. And remember to come out of it. Lean over to your left. Feel free to use any proppage that helps you to ease out with this left knee in particular. We'll stay low to the ground this time and come seated with our legs out in front of us. So again, don't worry if it's not particularly graceful, but do make your way to a seated position with your legs in front of you. A lot of us will benefit from sitting up on a cushion from our couch, especially if this starts to become a big rounding situation. You can also bend your knees. I like my blocks tall, and then we'll walk out like we're taking a bow, like a sun salutation bow. Here's a couple of tricks. One is, if you keep a bend to your knees, you might feel a release in your low back that's nice. If you straighten your legs, you will introduce more hamstring stretch. That could be nice, or it could be that it's interrupting a nice stretch in your low back. So you're the expert, I'm just your guide. Let's take a little bow here together. And then we'll inhale and come up. Scoot our 2 books or blocks off to the side and out of our way. Lie down on your back with your knees bent. A supine twist. Scoot your hips to the right. Let your knees drop over to the left. It could feel good to you to cross your right knee over and maybe even take your right arm on the ground overhead. Come through center, scoot your hips to the left now. Maybe cross your left knee over. Your knees will drop to the right. It's possible that your left arm settles onto the ground overhead. And then unravel. Come to the middle with your knees bent, your feet to the sky. Take a second to shimmy your shoulder blades towards one another underneath you. Let your head rest on the ground. If this feels good, you can stay here. Or extend one leg and then the other straight. Some of you will close your eyes. If that's not particularly comfortable, just soften your gaze. But this is our 2-minute Shavasana meditation. Rest and digest. You're welcome to stay here in your Shavasana final meditation as long as you'd like. If it's time, give yourself a little stretch, arms overhead. Gather your knees into your chest, roll gently to either side. Use your hands so your head can be the very last thing to come up to any comfortable seat, and that could be a seat atop one of your books or blocks. Palms up or down on your lap. Just take a moment to feel the effects of your fluid flow. Maybe you can take that with you off your mat and into your day. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I look forward to us doing this again together soon.